So today we are replacing our inner tie rod end, and because our inner tie rod end is bad, we are replacing our outer tie rod end. How did I get to the point of knowing I had a tie rod issue? We recently had some brake issues on the truck, and when I went to go replace the pads and we put new rotors, I noticed this. That's bad. You should not have any movement in your lower, which is your lower ball joint, your upper, which is your upper ball joint, and then your side to side, which is tie rods. Now let's get under the truck and troubleshoot how I decided if it was inner or outer. So now we are under the truck. I'm going to grab the side of the tire. I'm going to move it in and out. So you can look on our outer tie rod here. It's moving, but if it was bad, it would be moving in here. This is where that cup is. We don't have that. So we follow the tie rod here to where it enters our rack and pinion. You can see how it's moving in and out. So we need to remove this bellow, which is this piece right. Let's see if you can see my finger right here. We're gonna need to remove that and get to our inner tie rod. And I'll show you how. So our lug nuts is a 22 millimeter. Fits really good. I'm gonna be using this 1/2-inch impact Milwaukee. I'm putting it on this setting here. That's like the removal setting for max torque. I'm gonna do it in a star pattern, even going off. Now you can see the room that we have, because we're going to change this off in a complete set, outer and inner. I'm going to go ahead and take our outer tie rod out of our spindle here, which is going to involve removing this cotter pin. So I get a pair of diagonal cutters. We're going to take this castle nut off, and then we're going to probably use a pickled fork because we don't care about damaging the boot. Generally, you don't want to reuse cotter pins, but you know, if you're in a pinch, just be real delicate and take it out. I always kind of practice this just in case. So as stated before, that this is an aftermarket tie rod end. It's been changed before. So I don't know if your size is going to be the same, but in this case, this one is a 19 millimeter on our castle nut. Oh no, it is an 18. GM is notorious for using 18 on their suspension stuff. I will be using a 3/8 impact. Again, I'm going to put it on its torque removal setting, which is the round one if you couldn't see earlier with the 1/2-inch impact. And upset. Comes off easy. If you did want to reuse your outer tie rod end, what I recommend is flipping your castle nut upside down, because what we're about to do is use probably like a brass hammer, and if you have it downward, you will roll your ends of your castle nut, and you'll cause issues when you go to reinstall your castle nut, because you don't have a replaceable one because you didn't replace your outer tie rod in, which is fine, especially if you're in a pinch. So I'm gonna get this started, and then, okay, here we go. What you're gonna do is you're gonna run it flush with the end of your threads, because we don't want to damage the end of our tie rod either. So yeah, it worked. The chances are low for that usually working, and that just goes back to the testimony of I've replaced this kind of recently. And when I put these together, I use like anti-seize and whatnot. I mean, look at it. It still looks really, really good. You can really feel how much looseness we have in our inner tie rod. So now we need to take this bellow back. We're probably going to get a set of pliers and move this spring clip off, which I was able to do by hand, luckily. Generally that doesn't happen. This is the clamp that I was talking about. I did reuse it last time. It's really easy. You just peel back these little tabs here, and the clamp will come off. So now we got the clamp off, we're going to pull this bellow back. Sometimes your inner rack and pinion seal that's holding back your power steering fluid that's all going through this housing here, the seal will leak on the inside, or right in here, for your outer tie rod end as it actuates through your power steering body. So when you pull this bellow back, sometimes you'll get a lot of fluid, and lets you know that your inner tie rod seal there. Yep, just like that. So I was able to get our bellow moved over. I thought there was a step, there was not. So this does pull down onto all the way to our outer tie rod like that. So now that we have that pulled down, you can see our inner tie rod there, and now you can really see how much play is there. So now I'm going to take an adjustable or some type of device. We're going to start with adjustable and see if we can't get this just unthread off. It's pretty simple. We can just get it to move and not round off. I have heard about people using pipe wrenches for this. You can't get it to move. So that is something that is an option if somebody can't get this to come loose. Ooh. I'm turning it the right way, yeah. Ooh, there it went. That was pretty tight. Here we are on the tailgate of the truck. We got our replacement parts. Hopefully we got the right ones, which will open in a minute. I wanted to show y'all this a little bit closer. It isn't really nothing but a ball in a socket, as you can see. And I don't know what got out of spec, if there's some plastic or something in it, but that's tough. And you can see the anti-seize where I installed it last time. So this is the anti-seize I'm going to be using. Got it at like O'Reilly's or something. It's just going to make life a lot easier if you're ever working on this again. So I'm going to do it there. I do see there's already some type of, looks like probably blue Loctite, some type of paste on the inner tie rod end that goes to the rack and pinion. So we're not going to worry about that. We do not want to forget our nut. Thread that on. Doesn't look like it matters on the direction. There ain't a flange or some type of weird bevel. Oh, you know what? We need our bellow. I'm sure somebody might tell me there's another way. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut me a slit where this nut goes, because everything looks the same. And that way I can have me like a precise measurement point. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bellow off and I'm going to reinstall this back to exactly the way it was. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark here. I'm doing that so I can align back to here. It's kind of what I'm thinking. That's what I'm going to do. Nothing crazy, just enough to create some type of engraving, I guess you could say. And I'm going to align the tie rod just back to like it is. Here's our outer tie rod ends. So you can see there is a difference in length there. All right, we have that set up where, because we indexed it here, we cut on the other side of our nut, so we're indexed to that. So I know that is a pretty close to true setup there. And now I think all I'm going to do is I'm going to reinstall this, and we're just going to put everything as if without the bellow and everything, and we're going to mark it. Now with the good Milwaukee measuring tape that doesn't have the play in it, yeah, 15 inches and 9/16. 15 inches, and it's a little bit past 9/16. But that's probably because of the grease that's packed in here. So we're going to call that. Let me get a Sharpie And we're going to mark this because we got to take this all apart now to put our bellow on and our spring clamp and get ready for reassembly. Some of y'all may be asking, why did I do all that? So I needed to sync everything up with the bellow off, and I'll show you why. Now with the bellow on, if I try to seek this measurement, I'm having to stand off from that nut and try to roughly gauge that. But I would have doubt. I would eyeball that and say that's good, but I know with confidence with this bellow off, I'm able to legitimately touch this and get this what I call a pretty good spec to get me by. Go ahead and thread this on. There is some grease in there. Always reapply grease. A lot of times these aren't cut already, which makes it a pain to get started. It is a 7mm. Okay, that started. Feels pretty good. There we go. Okay, I think we're ready to put it back on the vehicle. All right, back under the vehicle, we got our new inner and outer tie rod. I'm gonna go ahead and thread this into the rack and pinion side. But that's tight. I'm gonna take our bellow, I'm gonna slide it onto the rack and pinion again. I'm gonna orient our drain up, as stated before. I'm using zip ties. Let's see what I did last time. Last time I opened this up and then reclamped it using zip ties. I'm going to do this. Boom. That's on there pretty good now. I'm going to put that drain towards the top, and let's go to the outside of the car. Now we're outside the car. You can see that we kind of got what we wanted on orientation of the ball joint down. I call that a testimony of having somewhat right precision. Although that could be a manufacturing, the way it's clocked. That is not it's not foolproof. I'm putting our spring clamp on right now using these needle nose. So now that's secured. So this ball joint does swivel inside that tie rod, or inner tie rod. So saying that, I don't mind using it to clock it correctly. We're not going to loosen anything up like that. I am a big fan of putting a little anti-seize here. I think that helps you on the next time you revisit this, especially if you own anything for a long period of time. Let me clean this up first. Try to get all this nasty grease off of here so we have a good surface using some of these old rags that when the rack and pinion leaked all over the ground. A little bit of dirt in there. Just trying to give it the best chance. All right, gonna get that lined up. You guys see how it's rocking. There we go. Gonna get our new castle nut. And we have a new cotter pin. Because we use anti-seize, feel pretty good about this coming off later. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ugga-dugga it down with a 3/8 impact on 2. As you see, I did a lot of ugga-duggas. I'm gonna loosen it. What I did that was seating it. And now I know that's tight. I'm gonna verify with a ratchet. And then we got to line up our cotter pin hole with our castle nut. This part can be annoying sometimes because sometimes it just doesn't want to line up the way you want it to, but it looks like we're fairly close. I always like verifying my torque though by using hand tools. I'm going in, putting things back together. Just electric tools especially can give you a false torque sensation where it's making a lot of racket, but it's not necessarily putting a lot of torque. So I feel pretty good about that. We have a hole lined up there. There's a cotter pin. I like to orient these with the long side down, and I go all the way through. Let me bring y'all closer. I'm going to take the tag, I'm going to wrap it around the bottom like that. Kind of like to hold the end of the cotter pin and bring it around, which I screwed that up. There we go. It was just, it rotated like that. Now, I just like that cotter pin to be real tight. And then we're going to cut our tag off on the other side, and I'm going to bring it up. So I need some dikes, which we have here. I'm not wearing eye pro, so I'm going to do my safety squints. Very dangerous here. You want to talk about injuries happening with cutting cotter pins and zip tie ends too. Boom, it's off. So now I'm going to bring that up and capture the top like that. And now I just like a cotter pin that just feels secured. I don't know, it's all the same. I'm overthinking it, but that's just the way I came up on using cotter pins, and I've never had a failure. So it's just a piece of metal holding another piece of metal from turning. Not a high stress, high torque situation. As long as it's in the grooves of the castle nut, it's not going to hurt anything. So now what I'm going to do is get our grease gun, and we're going to put about 3 or 4 pumps into our zert fitting. I'm going to do a little bit more. I want to see it just start to bulge. Okay, I'm starting to see it bulge, I think. I don't want to bust the boot. Take that off. That's one thing I do like about these lock lubes. Kind of has these teeth on it. And I don't know how many times I've had these things come off. It gets grease everywhere. It makes this gigantic mess. Bring it down real slow and just work it around. You cannot do this too fast. You will get this wheel cocked and you will bend it. Very easy. So I'm just starting it back and forth, bringing it down into these lug nuts. The taper of the lug nut meets the taper of the wheel, and just slowly seating it. So you see, I didn't even do no ugga-duggas. Real light on the trigger. Get everything seated. Believe it or not, with all the Milwaukee tools and everything I've went bougie on, I still use an old school torque wrench. This is one that my grandfather had when he was a mechanic, and I don't know, I just haven't went and bought a fancy one. Pull this handle until it hits 100. 100, you can see it did move a little bit. 100, still doing the cross. 100, 100, 100, and 100. Doesn't matter and which way it goes. It's just, biggest thing is I like to do little love taps here to make sure it's secured. Now I got to clean up my mess, especially what's on the tailgate, and then we're going for a ride. We want to go into a visual inspection, especially the way we're saying we're going to wait a week or two for alignment, and compare it to left or right. And just see if you notice anything that's off. So far, nothing to note, which is exactly what we want. The truck feels like it's driving perfectly normal. All right, we're going to end this video off here. Hopefully that helped somebody. Big success today. That went too smooth. We didn't run into any problems. If you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment, all those good things, and on to the next video.